Hello again. Today we are going to be talking about the Mali and the Songhai Empires, continuing on with Module 14, Lesson 3. Now, the Mali and the Songhai, going back to our map again, the Mali Empire is one that started out along the Niger River, like we have talked, and they actually ended up conquering what was the Ghana Empire. The Songhai, which is this yellowish area, again started around the Niger River. They took over the Mali, who had already taken over the Ghana. So let's go ahead and get into our PowerPoint and jump in. All right, so a ruler named Sundiata made the Mali civilization into an empire. The Mali, like I said, laid along the upper Niger River. It had good fertile soil since it was near a river. The location on the river definitely helped Mali grow. And according to legend, Mali's rise to power began under a ruler named Sundiata. And according to legend, Sundiata, who was Mali's very first strong leader, was a mighty warrior and magician. He had built a huge army and won Mali's independence from a powerful king. Sundiata then went on to conquer many nearby kingdoms, including the Ghana Empire that we talked about earlier this week. Sundiata, he ended up taking over Ghana's salt and gold trade, which, as we learned in the last lesson, that was very, very profitable. So he was taking on a lot of wealth. He also improved agriculture and introduced cotton to Mali, which they were able to turn that into clothing. He also put soldiers to work alongside the slaves to help feed the people. They were not having enough food for their people as their empire grew. So not only were the slaves helping grow food, he also had the soldiers help out with that. And also to protect his authority, since he was the emperor, the leader, he took power away from others and adopted the title of Mansa. And Mansas had both political and religious roles in society. Basically, they were an emperor, a political leader, and also more like a priest and had religious roles as well. And the religious role of the Mansa grew out of their traditional Malian beliefs. According to their beliefs, the people's ancestors had to make an agreement with the spirits of the land that would ensure the lands provided plenty of food for the people. So it was kind of in their religious beliefs, they had agreements with the spirits. Um, the Mali Empire reached its height under the ruler Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was Mali's most famous leader. He helped Mali reach the height of its wealth and power and fame in the 1300s AD. He also added an important trading city called Timbuktu, as well as many other cities, but Timbuktu is the one that's most well known and still around today. So if someone says, "Hey, you're making me mad. I'm gonna ship you off to Timbuktu," they really are talking about a real place. They're not just making it up. That was always a phrase my grandparents would use. Always threatened to send me off to Timbuktu. Fortunately, they never did. Um, anyway, back to Mali. Islam, the religion, was very important to Musa, so he made a pilgrimage to Mecca as part of the Islam religion. Once in their people who practice the Islam faith, once in their lifetime, they are required to make a pilgrimage or a trip to Mecca, which was the home of Muhammad, who started Islam, kind of to honor Muhammad. Through Mansa Musa's journey to Mecca, he introduced the Empire of Mali to the world, and basically, Mali became famous throughout Africa, Asia, and Europe. Three basically being well known across three continents. So he did a great job to make his people known. Mansa Musa supported education, and he sent scholars to study in Morocco, which is in northern Africa, right on the Mediterranean Sea. The scholars then set up schools in Mali for studying the Quran. And Timbuktu became very famous for its schools because they were helping to support education. He also influenced the spread of Islam throughout a large part of West Africa and had mosques built throughout his empire. Mosques were basically Islam temples. So he supported education, but he also was a big supporter of Islam. Just like all good things, they have to fall. Mali fell to invaders in the late 1400s. After Mansa Musa, they had a series of weak rulers, such as Megan, who could not stop raiders. The army just wasn't strong enough, and it led to the empire's gradual decline. Raiders from the southeast poured into Mali and set fire to Timbuktu's great schools and mosques. A tragedy. A lot of history was destroyed at that time. Invaders took almost all the land of the Mali Empire by 1500, and the Mali was no more. One of these groups of invaders were the Songhai. The Songhai, they regained power from the Mali, and they actually started out as a rival power to Mali. Mansa Musa had even conquered the Songhai at one time and made their land a part of Mali's empire. But eventually, the Songhai rose up again against the Mali and regained its freedom, and then eventually took over the Mali Empire. But the leaders of the Songhai had become Muslims, a lot like the Berbers that we had talked about in the first chapter or first lesson. Because of the shared religion, the Berbers traded with the Songhai and made them rich. And the more wealthy you were, the more powerful you were, and the stronger army you could afford. But the Songhai grew in many ways, mostly due to the work of Sunni Ali, one of their leaders. He worked constantly to unify, strengthen, and enlarge the empire. That was his goal, to make his empire great. And he participated in both Islam and local religions, and that helped bring peace and stability as a result. He wasn't strictly an Islamic follower. He followed the Islam faith, but then also supported other religions by the local people, and that brought a lot of trust with him. The people trusted him and what he was doing for their people. Another great ruler for the Songhai was Askia the Great. After Sunni Ali died, his son Sunni Baru came to the throne. Sunni Baru was not a Muslim. A lot of people in the empire were. So another ruler named Muhammad Ture overthrew Sunni Baru, because he didn't support Islam. And people thought that they would lose trade with the Muslim lands because of this ruler who didn't support Islam. So Turi took the title of Askia, which is a title of highest military rank in their society, and he became known as Askia the Great. And Askia, he worked to support education. Thousands of people came to Timbuktu to use the universities, libraries, and mosques. Djenné also became a city of great learning, especially of medicine. The Songhai traders were Muslims. They spread the Islam faith. Askia set up 5 provinces and had a governor or a local leader for each little section, so he didn't have to be stressed out worrying about what was going on in all 5 areas. He had these governors appointed who were loyal to him, and he could trust them to report back to him if there were problems. He also created special departments in their government to oversee certain tasks. And he created a standing professional army. That was the army's only job. They were a soldier. This helped make the Songhai Empire quite strong. However, the Songhai fell eventually to the Moroccan invaders from the north, and this ended the great era of Western African empires. After Askia the Great lost power in 1528, other Askias ruled the Songhai, but they just weren't as powerful and didn't have a strong army, so their empire eventually fell. The Moroccans wanted to control the Saharan salt mines because, salt equaled money, and the Moroccans wanted money, so they invaded the Songhai. The Moroccans brought with them a terrible new weapon, the arquebus, which was an early form of the gun. And the Moroccans wanted the salt mines because they needed money after defending themselves against Portugal and Spain. So they knew the salt mines had the money. That's what they wanted to conquer. And by conquering the salt mines, they ended up conquering the Songhai. But the Moroccans' guns, cannons, that brought disaster to the Songhai. They just had the iron weapons. They weren't able to defend themselves. It totally changed their trade patterns, which that completed the Songhai's fall. Overland trade declined as Atlantic ports became more important, and they were able to trade by sea and not have to trade on land. It was quicker, more efficient, and basically brought in more money. And that includes the Songhai and the Mali. Again, if you guys have questions on anything we've gone through, please reach out. Please let me know, and we'll try and get your questions answered. Next time we meet, we'll be talking about the Bantu. All right, have a great day.